everybody. I just want to thank you for coming. So this is our sponsors up here. So I'm going to do a quick introduction and then let them speak for a moment. So first we have Jeff Fulkerson with J-Rock Construction. He's been in the construction industry since 1980. He is a licensed general contractor and developer. He has built everything from luxury home to doing whole rehabs. Jeff and his wife, Roxanne, who is just this gorgeous lady sitting right here, founded J-Rock Builder LLC, which serves Tennessee and Georgia as the trusted residential contractor.
First off, we're going to do a GoFundMe for Harley to buy a real microphone. But anyway, I love residential construction, all phases of it. If there's anything I can help you with, please feel free to call me. I'll go look at things. And the one piece of advice I would give you is listen to your contract. I've seen an awful lot of stuff, not all of it good. But we're here to help, and we love doing building stuff. So if there's anything we can help you with, just let me know. Give me a shout. We've got cards over there, and let us know what we can help you with.
Next, we have Harley Green, who is with Workergenics. Workergenics helps real estate professionals, investors, and business leaders grow their business in the most cost-effective way with dedicated, college-educated virtual professionals.
So you guys are familiar with leverage with financing in real estate. You get a loan, you bring someone else's money, and you get much better returns. So I help real estate professionals get the same kind of concept and growth, but with people. So we're leveraging people's time to get more return on your time. So we bring incredible, talented virtual professionals who are dedicated to you, so they are part of your team at a fraction of the cost of comparable local options. So whether it's doing the books on your real estate empire, or calling the utilities and getting utilities switched over, downloading your mortgage statements, handling your short-term rental guest messaging, all the things that take your time that are not helping you find deals and make more money, we need to delegate those and leverage other people to maximize your return, so you're focusing on the top 20% of growing your real estate empire.
Next, we have Matt Allis. He is with East Insurance. They are one of the best independent insurance agencies for residential and rental properties here in Chattanooga. He is super quick and responsive and loves taking care of his clients.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm Matt with East Insurance. I'm one of the owners. And kind of one of the differences with our agency is we started from the ground up focusing on investors. So we focus on fix and flips. We focus on those renovations and then those rental properties. We do 1 to 4 units all day long. We've gone up to 32 units, and we can go to 200 units. So I know a lot of our investors kind of start with single family home, then they want to get to multifamily, and you want to keep growing it. So we're independent. We can shop it for you. I work after hours, and our job is to be quick and responsive. Some of the more established agencies, sometimes they may not need the business, so they may not knock out the quote and get back to you right away. But we're still hungry. We're about 3 years in, and we want to earn your business. So Matt with East Insurance. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Sean Steiger with RSS Insurance. They go out of their way to treat clients like family and use industry expertise and diversified knowledge to protect what is valued most in business and life. As an independent insurance agency, they work for you, not the insurance company, giving you the power of choice.
Thank you very much. So, Sean Steiger, I have been in this insurance space about 10 years. Before this, I was a general contractor, and as a general contractor, I did quite a bit of the work that a lot of you guys do on fix and flips, and I was remodeler. I did a lot of insulation. I was specialized in doors and windows and energy management. And so when it comes to how that applies to insurance, is I'm really good at cost calculation when it comes to protecting you properly. And at RSS, they've been around over 50 years. We have a mountain of carriers to choose from. And so I'll find out your specific situation to you and what the right policy is to you and your project, and to tailor that to you. And so it's not a problem for us to do fix and flips, but it's also not a problem as well for us to do the multiple units as well. And we're licensed. We're in about 40 different states as well. So if you've got properties more than one place, I can help you with that. So thanks for having us.
Next, we have Tony Naples. He is with Union Home Mortgage, and it is a private-held mortgage company focused on building strong relationships. All management and trainers are loan officers, and their CEO is still a producing loan officer today. This ensures that they understand the market and the challenges of all loan officers that are facing today, day to day. They service 100% of their loans for the life of the loan. So the focus is not getting you closed, but ensuring that you have outstanding service throughout the life of your loan.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Tony Naples. I'm the branch manager of Union Home Mortgage here in Chattanooga. We do all things residential, whether you're a new investor, seasoned investor. We have, your DSCR, stated income. We also do construction of perm. So if you're wanting to build a second house, primary house, multi-unit, we might have something for you. I like to say, there's a million lenders here. Not all lenders know what they're doing, so make sure you line yourself with a lender that cares.
These guys a big round of applause because this is put on because of them. Do you want me to introduce?
I got this.
Okay.
All right. Hey, guys. Thank you so much for coming out today. I'm really excited to share a bunch of wisdom with you about powerful partnerships, unlocking the power of your real estate investing dream team, right? Everyone here is here as an investor, so let's share all of our wisdom with you and help you be even better at that. That's our goal, right? So we're going to start with what I'm going to promise that you're going to walk away with here today. And first, you're going to have specific strategies you can use with others on your investing team to achieve better results. So we're going to have super specific stuff you could implement tomorrow. You're going to know how to leverage your team members' strengths for your own advantage, right? So that you get better deals, better situations happening, for sure, better outcomes. And you're going to know how to be a great team member yourself so the best people want to work with you. All right, we're going to talk about that. And why would you listen to me? Well, I was an investor first. These are some of my investment properties that I've had or do have. So I've done it myself. We do all the things, long-term rentals, short-term rentals. We've bought rent ready. We've done fixer-uppers. We've worked with a lot of you guys in this room, actually, as contractors and insurance agents and lenders and things like that. Now, and I also care about why we're doing it, right? Why we do investing in the first place, right? We don't do it because it's more fun than watching TV, right? We do it because we have some goal in mind, right? And often that's related to our family, our legacy, things like that. And so I have my husband Harley and our 3 children, so I understand why you guys are all doing it too, because I'm in that same boat. Oh, and I run the Auburndale group here, so we deal with a lot of investors and a lot of business, and that's where a lot of this knowledge is coming from to help you. So we're going to start kind of setting the baseline so we're all on the same page here about everything. And here's a list of who I consider your team. These are the people that we're referring to today. And I kind of started and listed it from the beginning of getting an investment property all the way through the end. So you're going to start with an agent, right? Then you're going to probably maybe have a home inspector along the way. You might be working with a lender if you're not doing it all cash. You're going to have an insurance agent more often than not. You're going to have a title company or an escrow agent, someone like that. Contractor, potentially, if you're doing any kind of renovations or value add, and then potentially a property manager if you're keeping it as a rental, right? So those are who we're talking about as your team, so we all have the same understanding. And then what is your goal? My assumption is that your goal is to make good investing decisions, okay? So that's what I'm assuming, and that's what I'm working for toward you, and I want to give some specific examples throughout this situation of what that would look like. So a good investment decision would be buying a house that's appropriately priced for its condition and the market, right? You want to get a good deal. That would be a win, right? That's something that we want to help you do with what the lessons you're going to learn today. Could also be knowing about the house's condition to an appropriate level, right? We cannot x-ray the house and know everything about it, but we can find what is reasonable to find out about a house. That's our goal. Financing the house with a competitive loan product, if you are doing financing. Closing on the house with correct documentation. We don't want to take this for granted. Renovating the house in a cost-effective manner to make it safe to live in and to maximize your return on investment. When we're working with our contractor, that's generally what our goal is. And then managing the property in a manner that protects your investment, minimizes costs that don't give a return on investment, and promotes high occupancy rates balanced with an ideal market rent. So as we go through our entire team, this is what I would say in general an investor is going to have as their goals. Hope we can all agree that that would be pretty reasonable goals, and that's what we want to do with our team, and that's what this wisdom is going to help you do. So our first wisdom today is to communicate early and often. In teamwork, silence isn't golden, it's deadly. So my first tip in this regard is to communicate your vision and goal. Do all of your team members understand why you're investing? And then when we get to a specific house, do they understand what your goal is for that house? Do they know how long you want to hold that house for? Do they know if you want it to be a short-term rental or a long-term rental? Do they know if you want it to be a mid-term rental or furnished, or if you're viewing it as an A, B, or C class neighborhood? Do they know where your mind is and all that? If they did, do you think they'd be better able to help you? Right? Lenders have different products based on if you're doing a flip or a long-term rental or short-term rental. Contractors are going to make different recommendations based on your end goal for that property. So it's really important that you communicate to them what your vision and goal is, both in terms of investing and with this specific property. The more these people know, the more they can use their expertise to help you and give you guidance targeted to your specific needs. Don't go dark. Another part of communication here, okay? If an agent took the time to send you a killer deal, write it up, send you the details, and they don't hear back from you, what do you think they're going to do the next time they have a killer deal? Do you think you're going to be the first one on their list? Probably not, right? So also, if you didn't take the time to get back to them about what you did or didn't like about the deal, can they use that to learn and to give you better deals in the future? Not if you didn't tell them, right? So even if you didn't like it, it's helpful to say, hey, I don't like this because of X, Y, or Z. So then they can fine tune. They know you're still interested. They just know what your buy box is a little better, right? Now, this isn't just at the beginning. This continues throughout. We actually have somebody this week who is now looking to buy because the rental that they were in had a crazy water problem and now a mold problem, and the property manager can't find the owner. The owner's not responding to them. They're not communicating. So this property manager, in their contract, right, is limited to how much they can do, how much they can spend without the owner's permission. And so they're somewhat limited to what they can do to try and remedy and stop the damage to this property because the owner can't respond to them, right? So throughout this process, we want to make sure that we have active communication with all of our team. And if you're going to go out of town and be out of communication, right? If you're going to go out of the country and your phone isn't going to work, maybe you choose somebody who's going to cover for you, a friend, a family member, and you shoot that person's information over to your contractor who's doing your rehab or to your property manager. So they have somebody who can make decisions for you in your absence. Communicate changes as soon as possible. We get that real estate investing is a fast-paced environment and things will change. What you want to do with the house changes, the environment changes, right? Rates change. When things change, you want to let your whole team know so that they can be on board to your new vision and sending you the new thing. So if you decide, hey, rates got too high, I'm going to pause my search. Tell them that, right? Or this house doesn't work, or your parameters are changing. Tell them that earlier rather than later, because that way you're being proactive and they're still happy and they haven't spent an hour writing you an email with all these details only to have you reply and be like, I'm not looking right now, right? They're not going to be excited to help you next time in that situation. And similarly or specifically, we might say deadlines. When there are deadlines, communicate early and often. If you want a home renovation done 6 weeks from now and you and the contractor agree, you don't want to show up in 6 weeks and say, hey, we're done, right? And you might think, oh, well, that falls on the contractor. And yes, to a certain extent it does, but they're busy, right? And we're all in this together. So please communicate early and often with deadlines. Check in beforehand. Ask if we're still on pace. Ask the question of, is there anything that could knock us off target or make this delayed? If so, what can we do about it? How can I help, right? These are all things that will increase your end result and your results with investing. The next bit of wisdom here is seeing is believing. You want to trust, but verify. And that can apply to any of these things. These are all great forms of proof. You can have photos, videos, invoices, statements. We trust these people. That's where our service providers, but we still want to verify this, right? As agents, we go and we tour a house. We're not just going to be like, oh yeah, we saw it, it looks good. We would never do that to you, right? We're going to have photos, we're going to have videos of all the important factors that are going to go into that house. And other service providers may or may not do that as much naturally. You're going to want to insist on it. I have a fun story here. You guys can see the shower, right? Beautiful house, right? Is that a tile shower? No. Guess what the owner, the investor, paid for? Yeah, a tile shower. And it wasn't until we went and walked through the house to prep it for listing and took photos, and he was like, that's not a tile shower, that it came out. Yeah, real problems here. Next bit of wisdom, begin with the end in mind. A man who does not plan long ahead will find trouble at his door. We're going to talk first about the macro level of this. Do you have a big picture plan? Why are you investing? Do you keep that front of mind or revisit it quarterly to know why you're doing this and to measure how your current activities are meeting that big picture plan? If not, I recommend doing so. And then we can also, do you communicate that to your team, right? Do they know why you're doing this? Because they'll be able to better give you wisdom and advice if they know what your big picture and your end goal is, if they know your timeline, right? If you're like, I want to buy a bunch of properties and I want to just have them grow in equity so I can sell them all in 10 years and get a ton of money and retire, that's going to be a different recommendation than if you want to keep these properties and live off the cash flow rather than sell them at the end. Like, the recommendations are going to be based on what your big picture goal is. But we can also take the same end game question and we can take it super micro to this specific property that you're looking at it. What is your end game with this property, right? Are you going to BRRRR this property? Is that your goal? Are you going to flip it? And again, if you are going to keep it as a rental, what kind of rental? How long do you plan on holding it, right? If you're going to keep it for just a couple years, get those long-term capital gains, and then you're going to 1031 it into something else, your contractor might recommend different things than if you say you're going to keep it until you die and pass it on to your kids, right? 30, 40, 50-year hold time, he might recommend a different roof or a different HVAC than if you're going to hold it 5 years or less, right? So the more they know, the more they can help you. And then the other thing is, we can have all these end games, but they can change, right? Along with this wisdom about this, keep in mind that you've got plan A. You're working on plan A. Don't hold on to plan A once it's not the best plan anymore, right? Hopefully you do have a plan B that you came up with, right? Investors are pretty good about that. What investors are not as good at is switching from plan A to plan B the minute plan B gets to be the better plan. They hold on to plan A. They give CPR to plan A. They try to resuscitate plan A, but it's not going to win. And it's not going to come back to life. They're going to go to plan B. And then the issue is the longer you take to make that switch, the less effectively you can execute plan B. Go ahead and go all in on plan B. Let plan A rest in peace and move on. One of the ways that this affects us is, and it's come up several times, and it sounds like such a little thing, but it's actually potentially, it's caused a lot of headache, is clients don't think about early on about the fact that they want to hold this property in an LLC. We have it all the time. They go under contract, they have these plans, but they don't think about their total end game for the property. They don't think, oh, I want this in an LLC. I'm getting a hard money loan, or, I'm going to do a lot of renovations. I don't want the liability. And they don't think about the fact they want it in an LLC until like 10 days before closing. And then they want an attorney to draw up an LLC, and they want the title company to change it to being closed in an LLC. And attorneys are a lot of things. Fast is not one of them. All right, guys? So it ends up being a huge risk to delaying closing. And whenever you're delaying closing, the other side can walk away because you're not keeping up your end of the deal. So that's just one example of when you really want to think about where your end game is, what pieces you need to have in play, and get them started early. And in this specific example, if you're wanting your property to be in an LLC, you can create the LLC before you even get under contract on the property. You don't have to call it 123 Main Street after this property like everybody wants to do. You could just call it, John Doe LLC and have it open beforehand, knowing you're going to get a property. Or if you do want to get it for this specific property, you want to be under contract first, please do it as soon as you get under contract, especially if you're going to use an attorney to help you do it, because you're going to need the entire closing period to make it happen. Now, this is another picture from a specific property where people had to switch from a plan A to a plan B. It's a fabulous investor, Gina, who some of you may know, and she bought this property to be a BRRRR. She's a BRRRR investor. She likes to do this value add and keep something to have it grow in value and be in the black with rent every month. Now, the thing is, the numbers are tighter on a BRRRR than on a flip because, you have to be under the ARV by a certain amount so that you can refinance and get all your money out or most of your money out. And this one had a lot of surprises. It had a septic surprise, or it was a sewer line surprise, some other surprises. The front yard was not as pretty as the kitchen ended up being, right? They had to rip it all up for the sewer line. It was crazy. And so she's on top of her numbers. She had her plan B, and she realized the numbers aren't going to work to keep this as a BRRRR. We're going to have to flip it instead. And as soon as she realized that, she changed her plans and she changed her contractor setup to say, what do we need to do to have this be a good-looking flip? And that's what they did. So gorgeous, right? And that's going to be appealing to a new home buyer or first-time home buyer where this is priced at to come in and get it, right? They did the finishes perfect for this plan B because they switched as soon as they knew that was the best choice. Next bit of wisdom, similar to the last one, but a little different. Be flexible and find the possibility. Every cloud has a silver lining. This is something I think every investor really may need to get tattooed on them, right? Because change or surprises are inevitable, and investors typically don't take them well. So we want to instead, I would challenge you to change your mindset and realize this is probably not going to be smooth. Something unexpected is going to happen during the time you hold this property. And what can we do to expect that and to make it be in our advantage instead of to our disadvantage? Because as we know, things do not often go according to plan. When something changes, ask your team what possibilities they see, right? Because often if you're the owner, you've got all this invested, and something changes, you've kind of got blinders on because you're emotionally involved and you're usually not in your best headspace. So ask your experts, your team that you have there, what do they see that's possible here, right? If something isn't working how you wanted to, like it's not going to work as a BRRRR, say, what options do you see here? What can we do differently? How can we make this a win? Lean on their expertise and experience to develop new solutions. That's the overall idea here, guys, right? Realize that a change in route doesn't mean you can't get to a great destination. And think about, again, you might have blinders on. You might have limiting beliefs. There may be things you don't know. And so consider that and realize that so you can have an open mind when you speak to them and hear about what opportunities they may have. And a couple really powerful questions when you come to this situation is to say, how can this still be a win? How can this still be a win for everybody? And what needs to happen for that to occur? That's a very open-ended question, which we'll talk about open-ended questions further on here. That gives your team of experts the opportunity to share their wisdom with you, right? If somebody came to you in a situation where you're an expert and asked you that, do you think you could probably come up with some answers? Something that they might not have thought of, right? Oh, go back, actually. I want to show you guys. So this is another kitchen that we've sold. This is actually my own investment story about being flexible. We bought this property to be a short-term rental. I think it was like last March or March 2022 that we closed on it, right? Before all the short-term rental drama. So maybe you can get an idea where this is going. It was rough. Okay, this property was rough, and we bought it. We were going to renovate it. We were going to have a short-term rental in an up-and-coming area. It's going to do great, right? And Tevin on the team, who you may know, she was designing it. She was choosing the stuff, and she chose this great Tiffany blue for the kitchen cabinets. Like, can you imagine, like, as a short-term rental, that would pop in the photos. That would set it apart, make it distinctive, right? We made all these choices for it to be a short-term rental. And then, what did the city of Chattanooga do? Yep. And we did not have the permit before they shut all that down and froze it. So we had to be flexible. And what we did in this specific situation is we looked at all of our options. We could furnish it and have it as a midterm rental. We could, well, first off, I will say we realized we were going to finish the renovation, right? It wasn't an option to sell it partially renovated because that typically, in case you don't know, is not a very lucrative thing to do. So we were going to finish the renovation. We were going to keep it as either a midterm rental, furnished, and see, maybe the ordinances would work out that we could short-term rent in the future. We considered that. We could do it as a long-term rental or we could sell it. We could effectively flip the property. We ran the numbers on all of those, and what was most compelling to us was to sell it. So we listed it. Thankfully, somebody was willing to buy and live in the Tiffany Blue kitchen as well. So it worked out well, but that's what we ended up doing. So we had to be flexible. We had to move on and just be like, this is not going to happen. So let's do the best with what we have here and figure out the best path that is viable. Next bit of wisdom: nothing ventured, nothing gained. Fortune favors the brave. This kitchen looks a little different than the last one, or the last several we've seen, right? What do you guys think this kitchen would need if you were going to renovate it? A bomb? I don't remember exactly where it is. But yeah, it needs some walls taken down. It needs a lot, right? And the universal truth in real estate investing and in life is that often greater risk equals greater reward, right? And the thing is, every investor is always trying to get an unfair advantage, right? Every investor is trying to have as much reward as possible for as little risk as possible. And I respect that, and yet we do live in the real world. So we'll talk a little bit about specifics here. We often get investors, new investors, and they want all of the reward and none of the risk. A classic example that we get a lot is people who want to meet or exceed the simple 1% rules, how they often say it. We'll figure that out, but they often want to meet or exceed the simple 1% rule in an A-class area. And for those of you who do some investing in Chattanooga, you may kind of chuckle. We typically see our 1% rule or better in a C-class area, right? Very different area, big difference. And so that's something that it's just not going to happen, right? So that's something that when you come to somebody with your team and you say something like that, if they're experienced and they're savvy and they know the situation, what are they going to say, right? How are they going to want to work with you? Are they? Are they going to be able to make that happen? Probably not if it doesn't really exist. Now, something that goes into new investors thinking this way that I want to address is that we have people and they're setting their search criteria based on what somebody else's end results are. So you've got somebody, let's call him John. John's a new investor. He goes on BiggerPockets, right? He reads the books and he hears about Joe's amazing deal that Joe got. And then when John runs the numbers, he wants what Joe got. But here's the difference, right? When John's running the numbers, let's just take rent, for an example, market rent. If we tell John, market rent on this place is going to be $1,600 to $1,800 a month. What John often does is say, I'm going to put it in as $1,500 because that way I'm going to be safe. No matter what, I'm going to be good, right? He puts it in at $1,500 and then he's going to compare it to Joe's actual returns of $1,700, which are in our range. There's a difference there of $200, right? For most of our clients, the difference of $200 a month in cash flow is the difference between a green light and a red light on a deal. So what's happening there is we've got John using conservative numbers and saying, nope, I'm not going to do it. And I respect conservative numbers, but he's not doing it because he's comparing it to Joe's actual numbers after the fact. You can't compare your conservative estimates to somebody else's actuals because you're being conservative in your estimates. And so those aren't apples to apples. And they do cause investors to walk away from some pretty good deals. So I'm not saying be risky. I'm not saying don't do numbers. I'm just saying realize that if you're overly conservative in your numbers or you want something that is a unicorn, then you're not going to have a successful real estate team. You can click through a little bit. If you wanted something like a home run with no risk, we know that's a unicorn. Unicorns don't exist on Earth. Go ahead. Your team members are not magicians. We cannot create an animal that doesn't exist. You can have high expectations. You can want like a really cool horse or maybe even a zebra, and we can probably help you. If you want those crazy returns, you want outsized returns, that's great. Just realize it comes with more risk. And if you don't want that risk, then hey, there are plenty of great real estate investments that do not have a lot of risk. You can buy something rent ready in an A or a B class area. You can be in the black. You can have your appreciation year over year. You're getting people to pay down that mortgage, you're getting tax benefits. It is very lucrative. I mean, I will tell you, we were not super aggressive for years in our investing strategies. We bought rent ready, stuff like that. And when we did the numbers and figured between appreciation and debt pay down and rent, we were averaging about a 28% average return. So that's pretty great for a pretty conservative strategy. Like, it can still be a win without needing to search for that unicorn. But if you want that unicorn, realize you've got to have the risk that comes along with it. Okay? We're getting near the end, guys. Listen to your team. Live for a century, learn for a century. Who has the experience between you and your team? Who's the most experience? As a team, I can tell you the Auburndale group did about 120 transactions for investors last year in 2022. If any of you as investors did 120 transactions last year, kudos to you. Great. I'd love to talk to you later and hear about it. Bets are most, if not all of you, did not, right? So we know a lot about transactions, okay? We don't property manage. I'm not going to try and tell you how to best property manage because I'm not the expert there. But we are experts when it comes to the transactions part of real estate investing. Use your team to your benefit and trust what they say. Again, it's kind of a theme I've talked about in a few different points here. Examine your own assumptions and beliefs prior to having a conversation. What are you coming into this with? Kind of like at the beginning of the presentation, I said, here's what I'm assuming, right? Here's what I'm assuming you want, what your goals are. Think about what you're assuming or believing as you come into a conversation, because you and the team member may not be on the same page in that regard. Ask high quality questions. This is really important when you have these conversations. You want to come from a place of understanding and not judgment. And this is difficult when you are emotionally involved because you have money on the line. Like, you're in it, right? And you're in it to win it. And it is so difficult. Like, I mean, think about how much y'all get riled up just watching like Georgia football or Tennessee football, right? And you're not even involved. When you've got your money on the line, it can be really difficult. Talk to these team members from a place of, let's understand the situation. I want to hear your wisdom, and I'm not trying to judge or be emotional or anything like that. You can use phrases even as coming from curiosity or things like that, but make sure you're asking for judgment or asking for understanding and not judgment, and your tone can be a big part of that. Asking open-ended questions is a great way to listen and learn from your team. Like saying something like, hey, Jeff, what do you see some options are here with this septic system that's not working, right? That is going to probably open the door to him telling me all the choices that we have versus if I just been like, what does it cost to get it fixed? Open-ended questions can be a great way to learn more and to give them the floor to really tell you their opinion. Because as somebody who's on a real estate investing team, like as an agent, some clients want your opinion and your wisdom and some don't. And so if you're somebody who wants to have these people share their wisdom with you, make sure you ask for it. Open that door. Because they don't want to, they're not going to give their opinion where it's not wanted, because that could ruin that client relationship. Ask follow-up questions. So again, if I'm like talking to Jeff about this septic and he gives me some things, I could be like, is there anything I don't know? Is there anything else I should know about? Things like that. Open-ended questions that, again, give him, are there any consequences that could happen because of any of these choices that I might not be thinking of, right? These are all some open-ended questions that could apply. And then follow-up questions. So if Jeff's talking to me about this, again, I ask some follow-up questions there, right? Or tell me more, right? Dig into it more. And keep in mind, too, part of what you're paying Jeff for, or any of your real estate experts, is to learn this knowledge, right? Like, I want Jeff to help fix this house, but even if it doesn't apply here, if I get knowledge from him that'll apply to my next investment or my next property, I'm going to be up, right? So use every opportunity where you're doing a deal with with this team of experts to learn from them, because then you are becoming a better investor overall. Paraphrasing back, so especially if this conversation isn't in person and we have to do it over the phone, it's great to make sure you're on the same page to say, okay, Jeff, to make sure I understand, this is the situation, and repeat it back to him. Do I have that correct? All right, so that's a great way to make sure you guys understand and are on the same page. Now this house, you guys may not be able to see it. They finished out what had been a deck over some sweet supports, right? Does Jeff like those supports? He's just going to plead the fifth, right? So this was a cautionary tale of somebody who did not listen to their team. All right? This investor, we're going to call him Jim, didn't listen to his contractor. about what to do with that, right? And then Jim listed it for rent. He didn't listen to his property managers, so it didn't rent. It sat on the market. And so then he came to us to sell it. And we listed it. We got it under contract in the first weekend. But then home inspector went out there and the buyers walked away. Probably because what we're seeing those with those supports, right? Then he goes back to renting it and was able to rent it. But here we have this guy, Jim, who didn't listen to his clients, had to waste a lot of time, energy, and money to go through these different options because he didn't listen to his experts, and he ended up with a house that's got a pretty big problem with it. Whenever he tries to sell it, he's going to need to get that fixed. I mean, I can tell you, if it wasn't going to sell in the market we had a year and a half ago, it's never going to sell again without that being fixed, all right? And so listen to your experts and do what they recommend. Don't be Jim. And then our last point tonight is to stick with your team. An old friend is better than two new ones. As you may know, investors have a fickle reputation. They are notorious for not necessarily staying with a certain team member, not staying with an agent, not staying with a contractor, for just hopping around. And that can have some consequences. I do recommend that you vet your team and you choose them carefully. And then once you have them, trust them. If you hop around a lot, you run the risk of being blacklisted. Agents talk. Kelly's a real estate agent. She's not on my team. She's here today. We're talking, right? And we talk to other people. We got property managers here, right? We have contractors here. We have insurance agents here. We all talk, especially in a market like Chattanooga. You know, if you were in a huge market like New York, yeah, this might not happen, but in most markets in the U.S., the people involved in real estate investing, they talk to each other. I can tell you that guy Jim that we just talked about, we all talk about Jim. Nobody's working with Jim anymore, all right? Jim's done in Chattanooga. Now, sometimes real issues do come up, right? Sometimes like there's a problem. What I recommend in this situation is to speak about the issues and give the contractor or the agent or the property manager a chance to fix it. I personally would love, if we're working with a client and we're not doing something well, let me know so I can fix it so that we can have a stronger system and not lose clients in the future. I would welcome that opportunity, all right? And any quality team member would feel the same. Let's say that contractor who did the non-tile shower, right? If you were that client and you were like, hey, I'm not going to pay this invoice until I see the photos of the work, and they didn't give you photos, and you're like, I can't. And we had a constant issue where they weren't keeping up their side of the deal, and you let them know, and they didn't fix it, then, green light, please switch. And we have helped clients switch contractors or service providers like that, where they gave their service provider, their team member, a chance to fix it, and the issues continued. That's a very valid situation. We totally respect that. It's just, get back to the top, investors have a fickle reputation, and so you really need to focus on that relationship if you want to be, like I said at the beginning, one of our objectives is how you can be the best team member as an investor so the best people want to work with you. We need to address that fickleness, and they need to know that you're going to be loyal. Now, this is another house. Isn't this gorgeous? This house is from another one of our investors who's worked with us for probably nearly 2 years now. And he's a flipper. And this is an example of what you get when you stick with your team. He has developed a team of different subs that he uses. He usually GCs it himself, but he's developed a team. He's had to have some tough conversations with some of them and get them straightened out, but he's done that. And he's progressed and progressed, and now he has beautifully done houses like this that sell so well. And these are fine at the beginning. They're fine, but he's definitely progressed because he stuck with his team and he developed. And this house, again, it went under contract opening weekend, every home inspection got a few little things. He addressed them. It closed on time. It was with another agent here in this office. They were super excited about it. The clients were super excited about it. It was a win-win for everyone involved. And it's totally possible to do this and to work with the team well. Oh, I love it. He clapped. He's like, yeah, win-win. I'm all into it. It's totally possible to do this if you use the wisdom that we talk about and apply that as you work with everybody on your team as an investor. Just need a year and a half old in every audience. Now, if you need a real estate investing dream team, we here at the Auburndale Group are happy to help. We've got our team members in the back. We have a few of our agents here today. We got Mike, and we've got Tevin back there with Mike, and then we've got Kyle up here. Any of them are happy to have a conversation with you. We usually start with a consult call, and if you'd agree that you'd like to work with us and that we'll be the best fit for you, you're going to get our expert knowledge. You're going to get a client portal that we have where we communicate all of our resources, best practices, and things like that to you. And part of the client portal is our vetted service providers. So, many of the people that you have seen here today or other people who are here in attendance today are some of our service providers that we provide to help our investors make their dream team and succeed in real estate investing. That's it for our presentation. I appreciate you guys sitting through that. We'll be here if you have any questions, and of course there's more food. So thank you all for your time.